Hello, it is I, Ramses the 800th. It's an honor to make your guys' acquaintance once again, and today we're going to be talking about something that I haven't talked about for, I think, almost a year. Well, like half a year. Kaiju number 8. I know Kaiju number 8 ended, like, I think either a month or a few months ago, and I know that some people were kind of upset, or at least disappointed with the ending. Um, and I understand it. The ending was very much a non-ending. Like they kind of re reconnect a lot of things that's like in the final battle. Kafka loses, supposedly loses the grudge that gives him his power, the kaiju, after beating the kaiju from the Heian era, I think it was. Or am I thinking about something else? After he beats it, apparently the grudge leaves him. That's like the big point, and he loses his kaiju ability. Except he didn't. He didn't lose his kaiju stuff. He still keeps it, and they just continue fighting off the kaiju, and that's kind of like it's the ending is more of like a, and the story continues on, right? It's like there really is no ending, but we there's always an open door for something to happen, right? And that's okay with me as somebody who was following Kaiju number 8 for a really long time, not since the beginning, but I think since like chapter 16 I've been following it. I do kind of like, I like the ending, right? It's not the best, but a lot of very recently no manga has like had like a perfect ending. No manga has a perfect ending, right? I know that a lot of people were talking about loose threads that they felt like could have been continued on afterwards, like the chasm that they were talking about, that they think that's where the kaiju is coming from, stuff like that. But for me, I just feel like that's more of like other information, because when it comes from like the kaiju, the origin of the kaiju, and like getting rid of all the kaiju, I just don't think that's possible, because from what we can tell from the series and from, everything, it seems like kaiju have just like always been around, and there really was no point where there wasn't kaiju, right? I know in the anime, I don't remember if it was in the manga too, but I remember in the anime they talked about the ant kaiju and how they're usually underground and they don't really bother people unless we start digging underground, in which case they kind of start scurrying out. And it's stuff like that, and then the revelation that of the kaiju from the Heian era from a really long time ago. That in my head I'm like, kaiju have kind of just like exist in this world. That's why the infrastructure of the place is so like advanced. That's why they always have like these precautions for kaiju. It's because it just like it's like that, you know. So I don't really think there's ever gonna be a time in this world unless there's like a continuation, in which case they figure out that the kaiju are coming from like a chasm, like I think they were talking about before. But for me, it doesn't really feel like that's the thing. It just feels like you're gonna keep fighting kaiju. That's just how this world is. And that sounds kind of like depressing. It's like there's never gonna be a time where there's no kaiju. But it's more of like a, it's like the story continues on. There'll always be heroes. There'll always be people saving each other, and there's always gonna be another generation of like Kafka and Himeno, right? And I think that's another thing people are upset about, the fact that Kafka and oh wait, it's Himeno, Kafka and the, what's, I forgot what her name was, his childhood friend, they didn't like get together. Like they're not, he's not even like standing beside her like he promised. He's kind of just like there. But again, I feel like that's okay, because like what is she going to do? Like marry him? Go like it's a really weird spot to like insert a story. You kind of have to like really plan that shit out, which is weird. But to me, this ending and the way people feel like they wanted more feels kind of like, not that it was cut short, but that this is like the first and only like real big story arc in the series. Kind of like, I'm gonna do some comparisons to other shows and stuff, but it feels kind of like when people say, "Oh," like when Bleach was getting hate before the anime came back. I remember a lot of people saying like, "Oh, the anime should have ended after the Soul Society arc," or "Oh, the anime or manga should have ended after uh, uh um the Aizen, the fake Katakura Town arc, or like the Aizen stuff, because then it would have ended on a good note." I feel like this series is kind of like that, where it's like everything was kind of building up to like this moment, and then there was nothing afterwards, right? Because truthfully, number 9 was introduced basically at the beginning of the story and has just been the antagonist throughout the entirety of the thing. He's the main antagonist, right? And it's kind of like a what else, you know? But I feel like if the story did continue on and it did keep going past this, people would have been like, "Oh, it should have ended after 9, blah 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 blah," right? So this is kind of like the opposite effect where it feels like it's cut short, but I think we also have to put into perspective the fact that manga and anime and stuff aren't running nearly as long as they have before, right? We're never going to get another Naruto, Bleach, hell not even one. We're definitely not getting another One Piece. Naruto and Bleach have like 700 chapters, right? That's like uh, uh um that's the big 3, right? That's why they're the big 3. They're so long running. They've been going on forever, and One Piece is still going on. One Piece is almost at what 12? I think it's already at 1,200 chapters, or 12,000. Sorry, it's already at 12,000 chapters. No, 1,200. Not 12,000. It's not 12,000. Oh God, if it was 12,000. Yeah, we're almost at 12 1,200 chapters for One Piece, which is ridiculous. But we're never gonna get another One Piece and stuff. We're not going to get something that lasts 700. Hell, we're not even getting stuff that lasts 500 chapters anymore. One of the most popular, like, exploding anime was Demon Slayer, and Demon Slayer had like 225 chapters, I'm pretty sure. And like manga just aren't running that long anymore. Um, I like separating manga into like obviously like the eras, right? You have Dragon Ball, which is like the grandfather, and then first you have if we're really going back, you have Astro Boy, which is like the great grandfather of anime, and then like you know all this stuff. But like modern shonen and like anime and manga can trace back to like it traces from Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball splits into the big 3, which is Naruto, Bleach, One Piece. Then from the big 3 we have the next gen. And this is how I personally separate it. It's that, and then we have next gen, which was Black Clover and My Hero, because those lasted. Well, they're still lasting for like 500 chapters, and that's kind of like the point, right? It was 700, I believe. One Piece. Hold on, I need to remember how many chapters My Hero had. I think My Hero had. Hold on, let me do a quick search. Okay, My Hero has 430 chapters, and I believe Black Clover has three something. Hold on. 338. I remember I just did that. 383, sorry. 383, right? Almost 400 chapters. Let me just double check. I want to be accurate in my assessment. Yeah, 383. So, My Hero and Black Clover, they are like, and the only reason Black Clover has lower is because it's going to monthly, obviously. We all know it's like every 3 months. That's why the only reason why it's not up to My Hero's numbers. But that's the gap. And anime and manga just aren't lasting as long. I'm pretty sure Demon Slayer, like I was talking about before, Demon Slayer has like two something. Demon Slayer, here we go. Demon Slayer has barely over 200 chapters. So, like, Demon Slayer is what I consider, um, what's it called? Next gen manga. Next gen manga is JJK, which I think also only had like 270 chapters. Sakamoto Days is only going to have like 250, right? And that's like, it's not a lot relative, right? And Kaiju number 8 only had like 100 something. Granted, Kaiju number 8 came out bi-weekly, but Kaiju number 8 only had like 200 with like 100 something chapters. Um, and that's not counting B side. Kaiju number 8 had like Kaiju number 8 only had 129 chapters. But with the bi-weekly stuff, it was basically like around the same time of like 200 chapters, right? But that's not a lot for us manga, like us normal manga readers. Dr. Stone, I think, had like two something too. And it feels weird when you're watching a series, right? Or you're reading a show. Yeah, Dr. Stone had 232. It's We're not gonna get multiple like long standing arcs. We're not gonna get that anymore. And Kaiju number 8 and Demon Slayer are kind of examples of popular shows that once they finish telling their story, they are done, right? That's what they need to do. That's it. And there's not going to be, well, it's not that they're not going to be anything else. It's just it's not going to be any more like tangible stuff, right? I don't know if that made sense, but I'm happy that Kaiju. It's because Kaiju number 8 went out basically on its own terms, right? It The author had this story they wanted to tell, this grudge against number 9, this fight between the humans and the kaiju, the bond between Kafka and his company, and Kafka and Ibena. I think that's her name. Like this conflict, that's what they wanted to tell, and I think it's pretty important that they were able to tell that story and they were able to say, okay, done, right? Instead of having to drag it out. I would have. I think the reason it's so like, oh, why is the series like this? Like, I wish we had more. Is because they didn't go full with the grudge leaving, right? If the grudge left and then Kafka was left without powers, cool, right? Because then it's like, okay, that's a final like stamp on it. But the the openness of the ending, this feeling of and the journey continues, makes us want to like keep the camera rolling and keep seeing what this world has to offer. But just because the manga's over doesn't mean that the story's over, right? The fact that it's such an open ending means that we can possibly get extra content, maybe in like a form of a movie or in the form of like a light novel spinoff, or maybe another manga continuation, like a special one shot that kind of just deals with some stuff after. But the idea that Kafka still has like this way to grow, but he's changed so much since the beginning of the story that he's able to basically plant his feet and say, we're still going, we're still going to keep protecting people. And the 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 threads, the what's it called, not thematic threads, the story threads that they left, as in like the government wanting to find number 8, uh all this stuff with like Kafka having to be secret again and then not doing a good job, the fact that he technically still has the grudge, but we don't know if it's like weaker or stronger, we don't know. um and the fact that he basically got a new lease on life without a kaiju core as like a heart is really cool. But it's like we we want more, you know. But I know this is, again, it's more of like my ramblings. There's like no editing here. It's just gonna be me talking. And maybe I'll slap an image of Kaiju number 8 on the screen. But yeah, I just wanted to get it out there because I've been thinking about it for a minute, and even thinking about it, my thoughts still aren't like concise. But what do you guys think? Do you guys like the ending to Kaiju number 8? Do you think it's worth? Um. Oh wow, that I just had a complete brain fart. Do you think it's worth? Oh, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Huh. Do you think the ending stuck the landing? Do you think it did good as an ending, or do you think it's kind of just like a cop out ending? Because I feel like that would also be like a pretty tough statement. Like it feels like a cop out. Like they kind of just ended it. But yeah, I want to know what you guys. How would you guys have tried to end this if you were responsible for it? Do you think Kafka's gonna actually stay secret for long after this? Right. But yeah, short video, quick. Um, I think thank you guys for watching. I know, again, not too much editing. It's just me talking. I'm not feeling the best right now, but you know, again, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for coming in. Every Even if you're sticking for a minute, for a second, I appreciate every single one of you. Generic YouTuber stuff, like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'd like to bid you all a farewell.